What if I told you that the greatest story of rebellion ever told was actually a love story? What if the ultimate villain, the symbol of all evil and defiance, was secretly the most perfect lover, the most devoted servant, the most tragic hero in the entire cosmos? Forget everything you think you know about the devil. Forget the horns, the pitchfork, and the cartoonish evil. Today, we journey into the heart of a radical, mind-bending idea from a 12th century Persian mystic who dared to defend the devil, not as an enemy of God, but as his most misunderstood admirer. This is a story that challenges the very foundations of good and evil, freedom and fate, and asks the most dangerous question of all: what if the devil's fall from grace wasn't a fall at all, but the most profound act of love imaginable? Prepare to have your reality tilted on its axis. We are diving deep into an incredible academic paper called Devil's Advocate, al-Qudāt's Defense of Iblis in Context by Professor Muhammad Rustam. This isn't just an old story, it's a philosophical and spiritual labyrinth that once you enter, you may never see the world the same way again. Welcome, thinkers and seekers, to Summary Thought, the channel where we distill profound knowledge into captivating journeys for you. Here's the path we'll walk together today. First, we'll set the stage with the ancient Abrahamic story of the great celestial rebel, a figure known as Satan or Iblis. We'll be focusing on the powerful version of this tale that centers on one fateful moment, his infamous refusal to bow to Adam. But then, we'll see how a secret tradition of mystics began to whisper a different version of the tale. From there, we will plunge into the radical worldview of our protagonist, the mystic and martyr, al-Qudāt Hamadānī. We'll try to grasp his vision of God and reality, a universe where evil, as we understand it, is just a shadow, a cosmic illusion. Next, we will wrestle with one of the biggest questions humanity has ever faced. Are we free, or are our lives already written? Al-Qudāt's answer is a paradox that will form the key to unlocking our final mystery. And in that grand finale, we will bring all these threads together to witness his breathtaking, beautiful, and terrifying defense of Satan, not as a symbol of pride, but as the ultimate knight of divine love, a tragic figure caught in a divine play, a lover who chose to be cursed by his beloved rather than disobey his beloved's true will. This is a story of cosmic love, divine secrets, and the courage to see light in the deepest darkness. Stay with me, because this journey is one for the soul. Let's begin with the scene of the crime. The story, found in the Quran, is iconic. God, having created the first human, Adam, commands all the angels to prostrate before his new creation. And they all obey. All, except one. Satan, who is not an angel but a jinn, a being of smokeless fire, refuses. When God asks him why, Satan famously declares, "I am better than him. You created me from fire, while you created him from clay." For this act of pride and disobedience, he is cast out of God's grace, cursed until the day of judgment, and becomes the eternal tempter, forever dedicated to leading humanity astray. This is the story we all know. It's a straightforward tale of arrogance and rebellion. But within the mystical heart of Islam, in the world of Sufism, some thinkers looked at this story and saw something else entirely. They weren't satisfied with the surface-level reading. They saw a cosmic tragedy. Figures like the famous martyr Hallaj and the teacher of al-Qudāt, Ahmad al-Ghazali, began to reinterpret Satan's act. They asked, what if his refusal wasn't pride? What if it was the ultimate act of devotion? They argued that Satan was so consumed with his love for the one God that he could not bring himself to bow to anyone or anything else, not even on God's own command. To bow to Adam would be to commit the sin of idolatry, to put something else on the level of his one and only beloved. In this radical retelling, Satan becomes the ultimate monotheist, the truest believer in the oneness of God. He accepts his curse, his eternal damnation, as a painful, tragic consequence of his unwavering, pure love. As al-Qudāt's own teacher, Ahmad al-Ghazali once shockingly proclaimed, "Whoever does not learn God's unity from the devil is an unbeliever." This is the tradition that al-Qudāt was born into. But he would take this idea and build an entire philosophical universe around it, a universe so intricate and challenging that it ultimately cost him his life. So, what were these dangerous ideas? To understand his defense of the devil, we first have to understand his vision of God and the world. For al-Qudāt, the reality we see around us is not what we think it is. He taught a version of what is known as the oneness of being. In simple terms, this is the idea that the only thing that is truly, absolutely real is God. God is absolute being. Everything else, you, me, the stars, the trees, the entire universe, does not have its own independent existence. On our own, we are non-existent. Think of it like this. The sun is the only source of light. The moon, the planets, the things we see in a sunlit room, they all seem to have light, but they don't. They are merely reflecting the one true light. If you took the sun away, their light would vanish because it was never theirs to begin with. For al-Qudāt, God is that sun, that source of being. We are all just reflections. On our own, we are darkness and nothingness, but we become existent because we are touched by the light of God's reality. As he puts it, there is no existence apart from him. Now, if you accept this as your starting point, it immediately creates a massive problem for another concept, the concept of evil. If God is the only real existent, and God is absolute goodness and light, then where does evil come from? Where does darkness come from in a universe whose only true reality is light? Al-Qudāt's answer is as brilliant as it is controversial. He says absolute evil doesn't exist. It can't. Just as absolute darkness is simply the total absence of light, absolute evil would be the total absence of God, the source of all being. And a total absence of being is, by definition, nothing. It's non-existent. So, what about all the terrible things we see in the world? The pain, the suffering, the cruelty? Al-Qudāt doesn't deny them, but he reframes them. He argues that the evil we perceive is not absolute. It is relational. It's a matter of perspective. He gives the example of a parent disciplining their child. To the child, who only feels the pain and the anger, the parent's action seems evil. But the parent, who is acting out of love and a desire for the child's long-term good, knows the action is fundamentally good. We are like that child. Our limited human understanding sees only a tiny piece of the cosmic picture. We see the rain that destroys a poor man's house and call it evil. We don't see the wider cosmic necessity of that rain for the flourishing of the planet. We see the fire that burns a pious person and call it tragic. We don't see the essential nature of fire that is in the grand scheme of things, a necessary part of a perfect cosmic order. This is what's known as a theodicy, an explanation for why a good God permits evil. For al-Qudāt, the universe is a perfectly woven tapestry. There are no mistakes, no fissures, no glitches in the matrix. Everything, even the parts that look like dark, ugly knots to us, are essential for the perfection of the whole. You cannot know whiteness without blackness. You cannot appreciate light without darkness. You cannot understand health without sickness. He argues that God, in his infinite wisdom, created the best of all possible worlds, a world where every single event, every single being, is perfectly positioned for the overall well-being of the cosmos. Our inability to see this perfection is not a flaw in the world, it's a flaw in our perception. We are trying to judge a divine masterpiece with colorblind eyes. This vision of a perfect, featureless world, where everything is an expression of the one divine reality, leads us directly to the next great puzzle: human freedom. If everything that happens is part of a perfect cosmic order decreed by God, then are any of us truly free? When you choose to do a good deed, or when someone else chooses to commit a terrible crime, are those real choices? Or are we all just puppets in a grand divine play, acting out a script that has already been written? This is where al-Qudāt's thinking gets incredibly subtle. He refuses to give a simple yes or no answer. Instead, he proposes a paradox. We live in a state of constrained freedom. He says that yes, we have a will. We have the power to choose. You can choose to move left or you can choose to move right. That choice feels real, and in a sense, it is. But he argues the very quality of choice itself, the mechanism of will that exists within you, is a part of God's creation. You are not free from the system. You are free within the system. He uses a powerful metaphor, a horse in a field. When the horse is roaming free, its movements seem natural and unconstrained. But when a rider gets on its back, the horse is still the one moving, its legs are still the ones running, but its freedom is now guided and controlled by the rider's will. For al-Qudāt, we are that horse. We are acting, we are choosing, but our choices are ultimately dominated by the will of the divine rider. He even quotes an older idea that says, "Man is compelled in the form of a freely choosing agent." Think about that phrase for a moment. It's a paradox. You are forced to be free. You are compelled to make choices. Your nature is to choose, just as the nature of fire is to burn. Fire doesn't decide to burn. It just burns. It has no other option. Similarly, humans must choose. We are compelled to the act of choosing. So, while we have a limited freedom between doing a thing and not doing a thing, we are not the ultimate authors of our actions. Every cause ultimately traces back to God, who is the first cause. Our actions are like ripples in a pond, but the stone that started it all was thrown by the hand of God. This idea of constrained freedom is the final piece of the puzzle we need. Because if this is true for us, then it must also be true for two significant actors on the cosmic stage, the Prophet Muhammad and his dark twin, Iblis or Satan. And now we arrive at the heart of the drama. With this entire philosophical universe in place, al-Qudāt returns to the scene of that first primordial crime. He asks us to look again at Satan, but this time, through these new lenses. First, let's look at this through the lens of complementarity. If the world is a perfect whole that requires opposites to be known, light and dark, good and bad, obedience and disobedience, then the Muhammad and Satan are the two ultimate poles of this cosmic duality. al-Qudāt describes them as two different lights, two different rays, emanating from the same divine sun. Muhammad is the light of guidance, mercy, and beauty. Satan is the light of misguidance, wrath, and majesty. But you cannot have one without the other. They are two sides of the same divine coin. Satan's function as the misguider is a necessary role in the cosmic order. Without the possibility of going astray, the act of choosing the right path has no meaning. Without the darkness of Satan, the light of Muhammad could not shine so brightly. Satan, then, is not an accident or a rogue agent. He is a necessary feature of reality. As al-Qudāt claims, Muhammad could never be without Satan. Now, let's look through the lens of constrained freedom. al-Qudāt makes a stunning distinction. He says that we humans are compelled to choose. We have this small window of freedom, but figures like Muhammad and Satan are different. They are compelled to do a specific task. Their nature is their destiny. The Muhammad's inherent quality is guidance. He must guide. Satan's inherent quality is misguidance. He must misguide. They are compelled to be what they are by their very essence. Satan doesn't just choose to be the tempter. He is the tempter. It is his cosmic function, assigned to him by God. This completely shatters the traditional story of pride and rebellion. Satan's actions are no longer his own sinful choices. They are metaphors for God's own actions. It is God who ultimately guides and misguides. Satan is just the instrument. He is the manifestation of God's majestic and wrathful aspect. But al-Qudāt doesn't stop with this cold philosophical explanation. He takes one final breathtaking leap, and this is where his teaching becomes not just a philosophy, but a poem, a love story. He says that the ultimate key to understanding Satan is not metaphysics, but love, passionate, all-consuming divine love. He reveals the ultimate secret. God's command to Satan to prostrate before Adam was only the outward command. In secret, al-Qudāt claims God had given Satan a different, pre-eternal command: never bow down to anyone but me. Satan was therefore caught in an impossible, tragic test. He had to choose between the public, prescriptive command and the secret essential will of his beloved. The other angels, who were raw and uncooked in their love, could only hear the outward command, so they bowed. But Satan, the teacher of angels, the one who had gazed upon God's beauty for eons, he knew the real desire of his beloved. He knew that true love means obeying the lover's hidden will, not just their spoken words. Imagine a king telling his most loyal knight, in front of the whole court, "Go serve my enemy." The lesser courtiers would see this as a simple command. But the loyal knight, who knows the king's heart, might understand it as a test of his loyalty, a test to see if he would really abandon his one true master. For Satan, bowing to Adam would have been a betrayal of his one true love. He chose to disobey the outward command in order to perfectly obey the inward will. He chose separation, damnation, and an eternal curse over a single moment of dividing his devotion. It was the perfection of love. As al-Qudāt writes, in the voice of Satan, the gaze swerved not, nor did it transgress. In this telling, Satan becomes the ultimate lover. When God curses him, Satan accepts the curse not with anger, but with joy. He says, "Since this robe of honor is from you, who cares if it comes with curses or mercy?" For the true lover, anything that comes from the hand of the beloved is a gift, whether it feels like pleasure or pain. The curse becomes an embroidered robe, a mark of distinction, a sign of his intimate, albeit painful relationship with God. And this reveals the final, profound message at the heart of al-Qudāt's worldview. The story of Satan becomes a mirror for the human soul on its path to God. The path of love is not easy. It is filled with pain, suffering, and trials. God will test those who claim to love him. And the true lover, like Satan, must learn to see God's kindness even in his cruelty, to find the delight of union even in the pain of separation. The lover must stop being a lover of gentleness or a lover of severity and become simply a lover of what the beloved wants. In the end, al-Qudāt's defense of the devil is not really about the devil. It is about us. It is a guide for the journey of love. It forces us to question our simple categories of good and evil, to see the divine hand in all of creation, and to understand that the most profound acts of faith can sometimes look like acts of rebellion. He dared to tell a story that could only be understood by lovers, a tale where the greatest sinner is revealed as the greatest saint, and the fires of hell are cooled by the tears of a tragic, divine love. And so, the story of the devil becomes a mirror for our own love, our own struggles, and our own devotion. It is a testament to a mystic who is willing to die for the idea that God's love and God's reality are so vast, so all-encompassing, that they have room for even his greatest adversary. If these ideas have challenged you, expanded your mind, or sparked a new flame of curiosity within you, then you know what to do. Tell me in the comments which academic articles or books you'd like to hear about next. Help us spread these profound thoughts by hitting that like button, sharing this journey with a friend who loves big ideas, and subscribing to keep exploring with us, right here on Summary Thought.